Jesus appeared little in public during this second preaching tour through Galilee, but he often conducted evening classes in the cities and villages where he visited the evangelists. During these evening sessions, the new evangelists could ask Jesus their questions. Here are some brief summaries of the clear answers he gave to questions his followers asked him. On anger. Anger is a mental manifestation that, generally speaking, indicates the extent to which the spiritual nature has failed to control its intellectual and physical natures. Anger results from your lack of tolerant brotherly love, plus your lack of self-respect and self-control. Anger is harmful to health, lowers consciousness, and is an obstacle to the soul. The scriptures state that wrath kills the foolish man, and that man tears himself in his anger. Also, he who is slow to anger is of great understander, while he who is quick-tempered exalts folly. You all know that a soft answer turns away wrath, and how grievous words stir up anger. Tact turns away anger. He who does not have control over his spirit is like a city broken down without walls. Wrath is cruel, and anger is outrageous. Angry people stir up strife, while wrathful people multiply their transgressions. Do not be hasty in your spirit to be angry, for anger rests in the bosom of fools. Before Jesus ceased speaking, he added, "Let your heart be so dominated by love that your spirit guide will have little trouble delivering you from the tendency to give in to the outbursts of animal rage that are not compatible with divine sonship." On a balanced character. The Master emphasized the quality of a balanced character. He acknowledged that it was necessary for most people to devote themselves to mastering a vocation, but he lamented all tendencies toward overspecialization, as this leads to narrow-mindedness in many other areas. He pointed out that every virtue, when carried to extremes, can become a vice. Jesus always preached moderation and called for consistency. He explained that too much sympathy and pity could degenerate into serious emotional instability and that enthusiasm could develop into fanaticism. At the same time, he warned them of the dangers of the dullness of an overly conservative mediocrity. We note here for people of later times, who in a more complex society are compelled to specialize for their livelihoods. We advise these people to maintain a broad interest in social and cultural matters. Truly developed individuals are always interested in the lives of their fellow humans. On courage. Jesus spoke of the dangers of courage and faith, how they sometimes lead reckless souls into foolhardiness and presumption. He also showed how caution and discretion, when taken too far, lead to cowardice and failure. He urged his evangelists to strive for originality without making themselves conspicuous. He advocated sympathy without sentimentality, piety without hypocrisy. He taught reverence without fear and superstition. On contentment. When asked by Jesus, "Why are some people happier and more contented than others? Is contentment a matter of religious experience?" He answered, "Some people are naturally happier than others. A great deal depends on the willingness to be led and directed by the Spirit of the Father who dwells within him. Many people equate happiness with possessions, but the Scripture tells us, 'Better is a little that the righteous have than the wealth of many wicked, for a good man will be satisfied from within himself. A merry heart makes a cheerful countenance and is a continual feast. Better is a little with the fear of the Lord than great treasure and trouble with it. Better is a dinner of herbs where love is than a fattened ox and hatred with it. It is better to earn a small, honest wage than to have much that you acquired unjustly. A cheerful heart is good medicine. Better is a handful with quietness than both hands full with travail and vexation of spirit. Much sorrow comes from disappointed ambitions and wounded pride. People owe it to themselves to make the best of their lives on earth. When they have sincerely done their best in this way, it is also wise to cheerfully accept the factors beyond their control, their lot, and resourcefully make the best of what has come to them. Man's difficulties often originate in the fears he imagines. The wicked flee when no one pursues. The wicked are like the troubled sea when it cannot rest, whose waters cast up mire and dirt. There is no peace for the wicked, says God. So do not seek false peace and fleeting joy, but rather the boldness of faith and the assurances of divine sonship, which give balance, contentment, and enduring spiritual joy. Jesus did not consider this world as a vale of tears. He saw it more as the valley where the soul is born, the homeland of immortal spirits ascending to God. It was not so much the clear answers of Jesus that impressed the evangelists, but rather the example Jesus set with his own life. He lived what he taught others. His enemies constantly set traps, but he was never caught in them. The wise and learned tried to make him stumble, but he did not falter. They tried to confuse him in debate, but his answers were clear, dignified, and conclusive. When interrupted by various questions during his discourse, his responses were always meaningful and definitive. He never resorted to inferior methods to cope with the relentless pressure from his enemies, who did not hesitate to use all sorts of false, unfair, and unjust ways to attack him.